Hey, thanks for being a part of the conversation. This is Play It Forward. Real people, real stories. Episode number 567 is with actor Bruce Campbell.
Good morning. Spectacular. Thanks for asking.
Oh, I love that kind of an attitude. I work for a movie promotions company, so I study tour schedules like you wouldn't believe it. And I have studied your 22 nights out with Bruce-O-Rama. And I'll tell you, you're coming to the Carolinas twice, but what fascinates me is that you're going to be in Greenville, South Carolina, and you're going to be in Durham, North Carolina. Those are college towns. So I have to ask, are you pulling a Dave Matthews and you're going to the college towns?
Not specifically. Really, it's about finding the right venue in the right city.
Yeah.
Because we're not the type of show that fills up 2,000 seats. You know, we're not Tom Jones. We like our 400 to 600 seat venues. You know, where it's a little more intimate. So it's really just depends on that. We're going to new cities and new venues. That's part of the fun.
I love the way that you reach out to those that have always been your fans and followers. I mean, where does this openness come from you? Because, I mean, that is part of the real connection when you go out here and you're with us.
Well, you can't ignore them. I've gone to conventions since the 80s. And my dad was in advertising, so he always made me very aware of the crowds and who's buying tickets. And, you know, you can do your own market research at these conventions. Like, what photo do they bring up to have you sign? You know, you can really figure out very specifically and you can also find out what laid an egg, right. Something that you thought was going to be a killer, and you never see it. You never see them mention it or talk about it. So, you know, it's very educational. And I actually don't mind the interaction. I have several actor buddies who went to a convention and they were mortified. They never went to another one.
Yeah, because the second part of the show, is it not a question and answer period? I mean, those aren't pre-prepared questions. I mean, you're up there taking them as they're happening. Yeah,
it'll be what it is I'm going to get on the bus, you know, after we're going to do the game show, take a break, and then I come back and I do like about a half an hour extended intro where we'll talk about the movie that's about to come and talk about anything else. So it'll be very freewheeling. And then we show the movie and I jump on the bus with my smelly friends.
And the movie we're talking about is Evil Dead Rise. I mean, this is number 5. I mean, what does it feel like to you knowing that it just keeps growing?
It's kind of weird. I think the trick is, as long as we don't insult the fans, we really do try and give them the best that we can give them and not just crank these things out. I mean, the last one was 10 years ago. So we don't exactly, you know, fart these things out.
Yeah.
And they take time. These are hard movies to make, hard movies to prep. And so we're going to try and up the pace a little bit. So it's not every 10 years because we're getting up there now. We gotta make a little more productivity.
You know what's so interesting about that when you say that it's 10 years and yet because of streaming, it feels like it was just last week. I mean, because you're so readily available to us now with these movies.
And also we did with 3 seasons of Ash versus Evil Dead in between.
Yes.
So, you know, we keep trying to seed the clouds, you know, to get the rain.
How do you get onto the set in the way that, I mean, because we see the actual, you know, the final production and the editing, but when you're on that set, I mean, do you have to do what radio people do? It's theater of the mind, and you have to just trust those that are there as the directors and producers?
You know, you try and just get involved with people who know what they're doing. And I have a thing called the Crime Wave meter. That our second movie was called Crime Wave. And we had all kinds of problems for all kinds of reasons. And now I know if I get a script that comes in and they've got X amount of time to shoot and X amount of a budget and the guy has X amount of experience, I'll either say yes or no based on how the experience I think is going to be. And if it smells like a nightmare, I won't do it.
Yeah. So the power of choice is very valuable to you then.
It's the only thing you have. The ability to say no is the only power you have in this business.
So are you like me? Are you when you say that, you know, you research what people are looking for because you don't want to offend the fans and stuff? I love going in and digging in on who is the receiver of the message. And to me, that's very valuable information because I came from the production department. So you and I have got something in common. Your father with advertising, me producing.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. What was your question?
The question
was very esoteric.
Well, that's an arrowism. What happens is that I put so much energy into the research that I find a better connection to those people. And
Sure.
And do you do the same thing?
You mean with fans?
With
or
fans?
With who?
Well, fans as well as new viewers, because you're always being introduced to new people.
Yeah, but they find you how they find you.
Yeah.
You know, with Burn Notice, we had 7 seasons of that, and there are people who found me retroactively. Like, they hadn't seen me before Burn Notice, and then they were like, God, what's that old guy been in? And then they find out that he's been in all these weird horror movies from the past. You know, so they find you how they find you. And I'm actually much more stereotyped by my own fans than by my own industry.
Right.
Because in my own industry, I played cowboys and Bubba Ho-Tep and, you know, the King of Thieves, and I've been in a French film. So I've been in tons of stuff that doesn't have any blood. But if you're a horror person, that's all you really watch.
One of the things that I noticed was that there's a podcast out there that really is dedicated to you. What is that like for you? And then of all things, you appeared on it, which I just thought was the greatest experience by listening to your voice with that host.
You know, I don't know. I've been around enough that I don't really, it's weird. None of this really, it's normal now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, I look at the Evil Dead franchises. People have been very good, supported it for the years. And, you know, look, we're not even Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine the level that those guys get once you get to the Mark Hamill, the Harrison Ford type world. They have different lives than I do. I have a normal life. I still walk around and go to grocery stores, and, you know, someone might recognize my voice before they recognize my face, you know.
I would recognize the voice. The voice would be the thing that would get me right away, because I would look at you. If you came into a grocery store and I heard that voice, I'd be going, I know you. I know you.
And, well, people react differently. Sometimes they go, well, you seem like someone that I know. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm your neighbor. I don't know.
What haven't you done on your bucket list? Because it's almost like you give yourself permission to say yes.
I'm doing a lot of publishing now. I started a publishing company, frankly, to find an output for tons of material that I've developed over 40 years. That I've hired writers, you know, broken down writers who needed some money, and I needed a script. So I have a lot of material that I own, but probably will never get made into a movie. So I'm going to put them all out as a book, and I'm going to read them all. And some of them will get the full sound treatment. Like, we'll make it into like a radio play.
Yeah, yeah.
Like my mom wrote 2 Westerns, and one of them is an old timey Clint Eastwood type Western. So I'm going to do it with the clip clops and the gunshots and the horse whinnies and the whole thing. That's been a fun little side hustle.
Well, that's perfect for podcasting, because that type of radio mystery theater-esque storytelling is so big right now with podcasting, and the actors that are brought in and the producers, I mean, they take it very seriously nowadays. Yes, yeah. And so, you know, that's something that I'm having fun with, and I can do that anywhere at any time, you know, even on a bus tour. This fascinates me on what you're doing with the writing, only because I'm a daily writer, and I've got 29 years of daily writing. And my thing has always been, dear future reader. And I think it's so fascinating that you are the future reader picking up on this, and you're saying, look, okay, now you guys can have it. Yeah. What I'm grateful for is all of these ways that you can get your stuff out now. Yeah. Like, I don't need a studio to put these books out, and I don't have to get them approved. I can just put them out. All I have to meet through Amazon and Audible is the technical specs. That's it. Yep. They don't harass me. I don't have to pitch my idea to them. They don't have to approve it. And I got to tell you, as someone in the arts, that's what you really want. I never want anyone really to tell me anything. I don't. I'm not interested, because it's a project that I'm doing that I want to do, and it's either going to fail or succeed, and I don't really care at this point. So now it's about stuff that just, it has to amuse me now too. That's usually when I get pulled into the HR, and HR looks at me and says, you got to stop. You got to stop, dude. And it's like, no, I want to do it my way. I understand your way, but, you know, let's take it to a higher level here, and let's find some success. Well, but that's why sometimes it's best just to work for yourself. That's it. You know, that's it. I do as much homegrown stuff as I can. And then look, you know, if Hallmark comes calling, okay, let's go do a Hallmark movie. Why not? You've done that.
That's right. I've done 2 of them now. I'm starting to get into the club. It's scary. There's no blood, no stunt pads, no green screen, no monsters. It's like you just have a conversation. It's hilarious. Like scene 37, talking to Cindy. Hi, Cindy. How's everything going? You look sad today. Oh, no, I'm fine. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you're better. Scene 37, talking with Ken. Hey, Ken, how's it going? Oh, pretty good. Nice day today, huh? Yeah, really nice. I mean, that's Hallmark.
To me, that's working a different muscle in your inflection. It's learning that different style, how to, stretch out your words or the pacing. And that kind of stuff would be so exciting to do.
Well, it's very strange, though, because like I did one with Peter Gallagher. We were playing old folk singers who were coming back together to save the family home, blah, blah, blah. And we didn't like each other. So we're doing a promotion shoot with like these giant candy cane props. And we're supposed to sort of spar with that a little bit. And they kept telling us, you guys can't do that much. That's too violent. It's too violent. That we have to like tousle each other, but not like really hit the other guy, And so they kept dialing it back. And Peter Gallagher and I are like, we're not even doing anything. They're like, no, you can't even do that. We're like, okay. We'll just fake the whole thing. It's like being in a commercial. You have very specific requirements. Commercials are actually the toughest thing I've ever done. Yes. Because of the time constraints. Like you can do the perfect reading and it's 2 seconds too fast. Yep. Or too slow.
Yep. That's like salespeople would always give us 37 seconds a copy to try to get it in 30 seconds. And you're going, Southerners don't speak fast, and they don't listen fast either.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my God. But it really challenges the creativity though because being a wordsmith is very, very important. And I learned that trick from Ian from Jethro Tull. He says, "I am not a songwriter. I am a wordsmith." And I said, "Oh, I've got to take that for a ride."
Very nice. Man. Very nice.
Do you like working the words?
I like working the words. I just finished a comic book for DC. We brought Sergeant Rock back.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, that's the trickiest. That's tricky writing because you're involving the panels. You're creating the panels on the page. How many panels on a page? How many pages in the book? Where things land. When you turn the page, you want the kaboom to happen there. It's really, it's sort of the trickiest stuff I've done because you're writing to tell the artist what to draw on top of it. And then you're trying to figure out not only the voiceover, but then the dialogue. I don't know. It was a fun challenge, and we hope to do some more.
In these books that you're writing, when are you going to put one out there that's called This Is How You Do It, where you let us inside your creative process because you're always building something?
I don't have any way to do it. It's a lot of stuff has changed over the years, and I think it's important for people in the arts don't get left behind. Adapt. This is what I'm proud of our film business because during the pandemic, we adapted. We figured out how to shoot movies during a pandemic, and it's like manufacturing. You got a bunch of people and you got to figure out how to do that. And so I'm impressed with my own industry with how resilient we are as a species. We're pretty tough. We're like cockroaches. We're hard to kill.
You're so right about that because during the lockdown, you and I had a conversation and it was one of those where it was like, okay, so what's next? We don't know what's next. But yet you were always so positive.
Will theaters open up? Well,
right.
I don't know. Otherwise, you just got to jump off a cliff, and I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm gonna fiddle while the whole thing burns. It's just, I'm gonna keep touring and doing whatever. The idea is just kind of mix it up for our own sake too.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, I'm gonna put my grandfather's World War I diary out. It's cool stuff, but then you find out that your grandfather used really nasty words.
Yeah.
And that he used a nasty boo-boo word for every group.
Oh my God.
Every group that was not a white Protestant.
Wow.
And so as a publisher, I go, well, am I leaving that?
Yeah.
And maybe do a publisher's note with that? Because to block it out is to kind of whitewash it, and I'm not sure if that's should be done either.
Right.
It's not like he didn't say those words. So I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Wow.
But I think I'm gonna publish it anyway.
Because I am that daily writer, when I go back into the 29 years, I love the texture of the paper. You talking about your grandfather's journal. My God, what is that like to touch that paper or to even get the scent of that paper?
It's cool. It's a leather bound, and it's not that big. It's almost like a half size. It's not 8x10. I mean, it's not a book. It's actually a smaller kind of book. But then I got his 1909 diary, which is even cooler because that's a fabric cover, and it's a Wanamaker diary. Wanamaker was a department store. And so every other page is an advertisement for Wanamaker, like umbrellas or galoshes or something like that. And then they're all from 1909. And that's when you realize, wow, what a bunch of weird crap they were selling back then. Or sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, it's the same old crap.
Oh, my God.
That's just 100 years ago.
I'm such a paper snob. If I saw something like that in my journals, I would just be freaking out. I mean, when you write, I mean, do you feel it has to be the right paper, the right writing instrument, and the right moment?
No, I'm not. I don't get all hooked up with that. Wow. When it's time to write, like I'm going to do this tour in April, and then in May I'm going to write. I got hopefully another thing for DC, and I have a couple of scripts to finish up. What I do is I just get at it. I'm a morning guy.
Yep.
Like first thing in the morning, and by about noon, I'm done. My brain is fried.
So
I got to go do something physical, So, but I don't worry about. Nothing's going to be a perfect writing scenario. I've never found it. I've had great places to write, great offices and stuff like that. But I realize you just got to get at it and get writing, and don't worry about that sentence right now. Just write it. Just keep going. And I'll dictate stuff too sometimes if it gets into dialogue. I'll just start saying the dialogue. Don't worry about formatting, getting all your sentences perfect. That's for later. Just get it out. I like vomiting this thing out and seeing what I got. But before I start, I use cards a lot. I use 3x5 cards because each card is a scene, like with a script. And if you break your script into 3 acts, act 1, act 2, act 3, you come up with a problem, you confront the problem, you resolve the problem, essentially. But what I do is I'll put them on little cards. Each card is a scene. It's just one sentence on the card. And then I can know where act 1 ends. I can know where act 2 ends. And I know how the whole movie is before I've written a word. I've thought out the whole thing. And you can look at it. You can step back from the wall and look at your entire project and go, wow, act 1, that's a little long. Or act 2, I need more. There's something, I got to fill that in more or something, So before you get too lopsided, that's a good way to do it. That's how I do it. So I've got 3x5 cards all over. I always use it's a push pin board. It's like an action board.
Yeah. So I got to ask you this question because of your passion for writing. When you do a live performance in these 22 cities for Bruce-O-Rama, is that the writer speaking or is it you speaking? Because that writer has a voice and it's screaming at I want out. I got to feel it.
No, a lot of it is just generated from what people say.
Yeah.
When we do these Q&A sessions, the fun thing is either trying to come up with a new way to answer an old question.
Oh yeah.
Which happens a lot. So there's a lot of that of trying to do a more creative answer than I normally do. Or if somebody asks a very interesting question, then that can be good too, because then you don't have the pat answer. It's weird who surprises you too, because there was just one, I was doing a promo thing like in Oklahoma City 2 decades ago, and the last guy to come in had this piece of crap camera, piece of crap lighting. Everything was falling apart. His tripod wasn't level. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. And as soon as the guy started asking questions, I was dumbfounded because he asked questions I had never heard before.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I love this guy, Whereas the slick guy who's got it all figured out, they'll start by saying, hey, tell me about your game show, meaning they didn't really do any research.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Tell me about this. Whenever you hear that, tell me about this. Why don't you tell me what you know?
Turn it around. Turn it around. That's it. Well, congratulations on the tour and Evil Dead Rise, which is coming out in April. Dude, I expect to talk to you more, especially when it comes to getting these books out, because that's my thing. I've created a channel on iHeart for authors, and I want to talk to you even more about that.
Get going, man. Get busy.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Okay. All right.